Right now, 13 degrees. More news as it happens on 5AA.
Neutrog Biological Fertilisers bring soil back to life at good hardware stores. Neutrog.com.au. This is 5AA Weekend.
25 minutes to 8, Michael Keelan's Weekend. 8223 0000 is our number as we welcome an old friend to the show.
Yeah, the good doctor, Dr. Uwe Stroeher, is here with us from Neutrog. Uwe, good morning to you.
Good morning, gentlemen. I saw you had some birthday shout-outs, and I thought, can I grab what? Can I put one in?
Please.
Big shout-out to probably one of the most important people in my life, my sister. It's her birthday today.
Oh,
so
beautiful.
happy birthday, sis.
And what would her first name be?
Birgit.
Birgit. Birgit, happy birthday.
Birgit.
So she's probably still asleep. So
What's say it in German? Birgit, happy birthday.
Guten Morgen, Birgit.
Herzlichen Glückwunsch zum Geburtstag, Birgit.
Beautiful. There you are. All done.
B-E-R-G-E-T?
Yeah, B-R-I-G-I-T. Birgit. Yeah.
Close. Birgit. That's a nice
older,
answer.
younger?
Younger.
Beautiful. Now,
Now, are you sure it's her birthday? Because I stuffed it up.
No,
You accused me of just making up names, but all right, happy birthday, Birgit.
Definitely her birthday.
Control of soil bacteria.
Yeah, look, I rabbit on about bacteria all the time, about how important they are. And like all ecosystems, things need to be kept in balance. We can't just, keep growing bacteria in the soil. It's everything has to be balanced. And I thought, I was just trying to give people a bit of a feel about what happens in the soil. You spoke before about it being a competitive environment, roots competing. So bacteria compete as well, and they have to be kept in check. And it's a couple of things that happen. There's obviously nematodes eat bacteria just to keep the numbers down. So the nematodes really come in three forms. You got the ones that eat bacteria, you got those that eat organic matter, and you got those that attack your roots. So
Good, the bad, the ugly.
That's right, exactly, pretty much. And then there's another group of organisms, I guess some people call them organisms, I'm not sure. They're basically viruses that infect bacteria. So they're called bacteriophages. A phage just means phage just to eat. So, and what they do is they really control bacterial numbers in the soil. And the reason I brought up bacteriophages, I know that some people are going, oh, here we go, it's going to be a science talk. But bacteriophages are becoming really, really important in medicine as well. So in the 50s and in the 60s, everyone in the Western world sort of turned to using antibiotics. But people in places like Russia and that continue to research these viruses that infect bacteria and kill them. And in the meantime now, there's been trials done on people with sinusitis being given these phages. There was recently a report of a young girl who had cystic fibrosis, had infection in her lungs, that she's given phage treatment. So they're really making a bit of a comeback. Phage.
Okay.
Yeah.
Never heard of it.
Yeah, so they're becoming more and more clinically and medically important. But in the soil, they've been around for a long time, and they actually make up probably the largest proportion of all organisms in the soil in total, even on the planet. There's hundreds, thousands of billions of them, so to speak. So what they basically do is they infect the bacteria in the soil, and they grow inside them, and the bacteria essentially burst or lyse over time. And there's another reason. I mean, there's one reason that obviously we need to keep things in check. It's like check and balances like all ecosystems. But the critical thing is that actually also releases soil nutrients again for plants to use. So, we've spoken before about things like nitrogen drawdown, where nitrogen gets taken out by bacteria when they break down organic matter. And that's something that occurs, and after about 3 or 4 months, that goes away again. And one of the reasons that is that bacteria start to die, and these bacteriophages come in and they start to lyse or break open these bacteria, so they release that nitrogen back into the ground. So although they're a bit out there and people don't know about them, they're actually really important in cycling nutrients within your soil. So they're not just something I like to talk about because I know about bacteriophages. It's something that's really important in keeping the ecology.
A new word.
Yeah, it's something to keep the ecology running, and I think every now and then I like to throw in a bit of science.
Oh, no, very good indeed. So these phages, but what's the connection with us then?
Well, I guess for us, like I said, they're medically important. I mean, they're in our intestines. They keep bacteria in balance everywhere. They keep bacteria in balance pretty much all over the world. They're found anywhere in the water, fresh water, salt water, sediments, in soils. So they're really, really critical in keeping everything in check, because you can imagine if there weren't natural predators for something like a bacteria, then everything would be covered in a layer of slime, and there'd be bacteria everywhere. So they do have a way of keeping balances, checks and balances. But like I said, watch this space. I mean, there's lots of work now, potentially about using these to keep undesirable microbes out of your food. So you can spray these phage on so it lengthens shelf life.
Are there bad phages?
No, not really.
No.
They're all good. No, they're all good, but they're very specific. So it's sort of a bit like we tend not to get a virus from an animal because they're very, very specific, the viruses. And the same with these bacteriophages. For every bacterial species, there's probably a half a dozen or so of these phages, but they don't cross the species barrier.
Okay.
Yeah, so they're very, very specific.
So is this the sort of thing when they sort of talk about life on Mars? Is this the sort of thing they'd find?
Well, I think they're really looking for the bacteria itself.
Bacteria, right.
Yeah. I mean, they might find the phages. I mean, what happens with phages, this is getting even more into the science, they can actually integrate into the DNA of the bacteria, so they're present, but you can't find them per se until you actually look at the DNA. They sort of sit there inside.
Right.
And then when certain things happen, they pop out.
Phew. Gee, that's your best one yet.
Oh, well, the virus.
We've all learned a word, phage.
That's right.
Well, viruses are involved in human cancers as well.
Phage and go.
Yeah.
Get your phage and go.
I've always heard that phrase, how's your phager? Now I sort of know, I guess.
Phage off.
So, okay, bring it right back to our home garden.
Yeah.
What do we do?
So basically,
how do we get these little things happening?
Well, they're there all the time. But again, like I said, it's all about using organic materials in your garden, keeping that mulch up, keeping that compost up. Get all those things into the ground, all that organic matter, and as those bacteria are multiplying, basically the phage are doing their job along the way.
Okay,
so you don't need to. There's no real reason to import them.
No.
But I think in future we're going to start to see them being used for food security.
Wow.
They're going to be used in other ways of being able to break down sugars and that sort of thing.
Rather than pick up the carton of milk, could it be pick up your jar of phage tonight?
Phage.
Well, maybe one day. I mean, food security is becoming more and more of an issue.
Oh, that's right.
So, this is one way that we can ensure that we keep pathogen numbers down. So, because we obviously can't continue to use antibiotics.
Oh, all right, Huey, that's a good one. That's a beauty.
Brought one out of left field there for you guys.
That is left field.
So by keeping your soils healthy, by using organic matter, you keep the cycle of the phages and the bacteria and whatever in balance.
Exactly, and that keeps all the nutrients cycling, and so that makes it accessible for your plants to use. So, because otherwise things would just get locked up. So obviously the bacteria will use those nutrients the same way as a plant will.
So is there anything that we can put in our soil that would kill them off? Like high acidic soils?
Yeah, I mean, they're sensitive to all the things that normal things are, obviously. But they're fairly resistant to things like chemicals, because effectively a phage, when it's sitting there, isn't alive. So they're not a living. They're not living.
Do you think there'll be a movie on this?
Oh, there already is. There's plenty of them.
The Flight of the Phages.
I mean, there's a big argument: are viruses alive or not? That's the argument in science. So,
really?
Yeah, there's a lot of people saying, well, they're not actually truly alive because they sit there and they're not actually able to multiply until they pirate or hijack the host's machinery. So when you get the flu, that flu virus is actually sitting there. It's not
just waiting.
It's not truly alive.
Right.
It's not dead. But it's not alive either, if you know what I mean.
Gee.
Because the only dead one that's been inactivated.
It ain't science fiction, is it?
No, it's not. No, it's happening in your soil all the time. Yeah.
Thanks, Huey.
No worries.
If people would like to continue the saga of the phage.
Yep.
Yeah. info@neutrog.com.au.
That'll be the discussion at Birgit's birthday today, so where you go. There you go.
Or get onto the Facebook page and you can always leave comments there and messages.
Well done. Thanks for coming in.
No worries.
Good to catch
Thank you, Huey, and we've got the Who Flung Dung and the Go-Go Juice
That's right.
to give away.
Yep. So that'll be sent out to the winner.
Beautiful. Neutrog biological fertilisers available at all good hardware and garden stores. Check it out at neutrog.com.au. Just as we go to the break, Elizabeth sent both of you a message in from Facebook. Have you ever heard of this, boys? My indoor plants in winter, my husband calls them the weeds. In winter, we water them once a week